Hi ladies, this is Camille Thurnherr from Ignite Mr. Right. Now for those of you who haven't met me yet, I support single women in how to attract their Mr. Right so they can have the love life they deserve. And I'm really excited to have a very special guest on this interview today. He's a well-known dating coach for smart, strong and successful women. His name is Evan Katz. He's the author of Why He Disappeared and Finding the One Online. Now, welcome, Evan, and thanks so much for joining me on the call.
I appreciate you having me, Camille. Hope I can help out today.
Excellent. Now, I've been reading your blog for quite a while now, and I'm very fussy in regards to whose products or advice I recommend to my clients. And you are one of them. You're married yourself, and you certainly walk your talk. And I believe it's so important in our industry. But I know you're a busy man, so let's get into it. Now, are you one of those guys who has women totally figured out, or do we still surprise you?
That's sort of a loaded question. Because if I say that I have women figured out, I come across as arrogant, and that's certainly not what I'm trying to convey here. And the truth is, I don't have to have women figured out. I've got a wife who works for me, and we have great communication and a very happy relationship. So I only have to have one woman figured out for me to be happy. As it stands, my real business is in having men figured out.
Absolutely.
I'm a dating coach for women who want to understand men and make healthy relationship decisions. So, yeah, I think I understand women from talking to them for 3-4 hours a day over the course of 10 years. But even if I don't understand women, I understand men, and that's my unique value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. So I'm curious, what are some of the most common dating mistakes successful women make?
How much time do you have?
Well, we'll just touch on it just a little bit. I realize it's a big question as well.
Listen, I work with the best of the best of the best, the people who go to the best universities and get the best jobs and travel around the world and have the highest possible standards, and then discover at a certain point, 35, 40, 45, that they spend so much energy building up this rich, full single life that they forgot to fall in love and get married. Do you know anybody like that?
Yes, many women, and I was there myself, so I can relate to it.
So I do not hold these women in contempt at all. As I said, they are my clients, they're my people, and I understand them in particular because they're a lot like me. And for me, it was a really unique insight to realize that the women who are the most attracted to my dating advice are the ones who are the most like me. And they often find themselves attracted to guys like me, which is not to put myself up on any sort of pedestal either. It's simply to point out that I spent the greater part of 15 years trying to date women like my clients.
Yeah.
And it never worked. Right? And that, as I said, is just an observation, not a judgment, because I'm equally a party to why it didn't work. But essentially you had two people who were driven workaholics, know-it-alls, leaders, and neither person wanted to be in the passenger seat. So there was a tremendous amount of friction in my previous relationships because I, too, was holding out for the female version of me, and it never occurred to me that the female version of me wasn't going to make me happy.
All right.
Right? And that's a huge blind spot. Right? The idea, and this is for men and women alike, but women have a worse case of it, that you need to date yourself with a penis.
Yes.
Right? And you can hold out for that guy. The problem is, A, that guy is in very rare supply. Right? That man is in the top 2% of all men, the confident, tall, rich, successful, handsome alpha male. That confident, tall, rich, successful alpha male is not only a very rare catch, but he comes with his own set of problems too. He may be difficult, he may be arrogant, he may be narcissistic, he may be selfish, he may be stubborn, He may be a workaholic. He may not be emotionally available. He may be a player. He may be a commitment phobe.
Got it.
We've seen this before. I'm not making this up. Right? And finally, even if he is not all of those things, he might not want you in return. So you could hold out for that rare, rare breed of man, and he might just determine he wants a woman who is less busy, less challenging, less opinionated, less difficult.
So what's the answer?
The answer for and this is why I think I have the authority to give this advice, the answer for my clients is the same as the answer to me. Right? Look into your blind spots, see what's not working, and adjust.
Absolutely. So I guess it leads me to the next question. Do you think women really know what they want, or is what they think they want actually what they think they want actually what they need?
No, it's not. And once again, that runs the risk of sounding patronizing. This is not to say that women are clueless. I think they overestimate the value of certain qualities, underestimate the value of other qualities, and see compromise and settling as the same thing. And those are all big mistakes. Qualities that are overvalued, height, fitness, money, sophistication. These are overvalued qualities because those things don't keep you warm at night. Okay? Undervalued qualities, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment. So you can find tall, dark, handsome, brilliant, rich, charismatic, funny, but if he only texts you once a week, if he only wants to sleep with you occasionally when he's available, if he's been seeing you for 4 months and he's still not your boyfriend, if he's been with you for 3 years and he's given no indication that he's ever going to propose, congratulations. You don't actually have what you're looking for. You have the illusion of it. You have the most impressive man, but he's not yours. You don't get to keep him.
Absolutely. So I guess another question I had, can the right woman turn a bad boy into a good guy? In other words, can a woman actually change a guy? That
is interesting phraseology, Camille. The answer to your question as it's written is no. Can the right woman turn a bad boy into a good man? If he's a bad boy, it has the word bad in it, right? Even when I was single and dating a lot, I was never a bad guy. I always wanted to get married and have kids. So are you going to convince someone who never wanted to get married and have kids that he should? Are you going to convince a guy who sees women as sex objects that he should see them as equals and partners? Are you going to convince a guy who really doesn't want to settle down because he likes the busy playboy lifestyle and cycling out new women every 6 months that he should change his mind? I don't think you should. That's in your capacity to make someone do anything.
Yes, very good point.
What you can do is choose a man who wants that ultimately and be the woman that makes him decide he's ready to stop dating. Right? Now describe me. Right? I was the guy who always wanted to settle down and have a family. I went out with 300 women here in LA over 10 years of online dating. Right? I met my wife when I was financially ready, when I was emotionally ready, when I felt I had enough experience and I'd slept around enough. I had to be ready for her, and then she came into my universe, and I was wise enough to keep her. So you could be the kind of woman that, and this is what I coach, be the kind of woman that the right kind of man wants to keep.
Got it.
But you can't make the wrong man be the right man.
Spot on. And it's so important that the timing is right. Like you had to be in that, the timing had to be right for you to be ready for her as well.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly.
So how does a woman know when she has found the right kind of guy? At what stage can she know that he's really worth going to the next level with?
How does a woman know when she's found the right kind of guy? That's another confusingly worded question.
Or the right guy for her. The right guy for her.
Well, that's a different question, right? So I have plenty of clients who are currently dating the right kind of guy under my watch. Mm-hmm. They're starting to value men who call every day and make plans for the weekend in advance and treat them with consideration and kindness. That's the right kind of guy. But you're not going to know that he's the guy for a long time. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. You're going to have the, oh my God, you just know moment. Not necessarily. You make a choice. Now, that comes as a surprise. It comes as a heartbreak to someone. But I thought you're supposed to just know. I would ask you, right? Maybe not you, because I don't know you, right? But in general, if we ask one of your women who is listening to this, think about the man in your life who you just knew was the one. You had the just you know feeling, right? You just know feeling. Are you still dating him? No, you're not.
No.
So that, to me, Camille, is how much you just know means. It doesn't mean anything, because every time you just know, you're wrong.
Oh, that's such great advice. It's really important for women to hear that, actually. And it is it's even me, I'm in a happy relationship now, but hearing it now, it's like, oh my God, is that really right? But it's really good to hear.
It's very important to hear, and this is the kind of thing that nobody wants to say because it bursts people's bubbles, and it's like telling people there's no Santa Claus. No one wants to hear it. It doesn't mean that it's not true. There are people who just know, and they get married and they live together for 40 years, and those are the people who say, you just know. Except there's a billion more people who just knew and got devastated.
Absolutely. So, in your opinion, why are so many women attracted to unavailable men?
Do you know what the confirmation bias is?
No, I don't, actually.
It's people seeking out information that validates what they already believe.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Right? So people read blogs that resonate with them if they're politically far to the right or politically to the left. So we find information that helps reinforce the things that we think we already know. Make sense?
That makes sense, absolutely.
And so I see some measure of that when it comes to dating advice. And I do my best to sort of fight through it. But basically, women see things, of course, through their own prism, their own perspective. Who do you date, Camille? You date men.
That's
Therefore, who are the people who are hurting you? Men. Right?
Yes.
Right? Who's emotionally unavailable? Men. Who are bad communicators? Men. They're the people you're dating. If you were dating women, you'd discover the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
Okay? So it's not why do women want unavailable men. It's why do men want unavailable women.
Yes. Totally.
We value things that are not easy to get.
Absolutely.
That's human nature. We want to climb the tree and pluck the apple off the top. We don't want the apple that's been sitting on the ground waiting for us.
Yeah, I love the analogy. So in your opinion, how does a guy know if a woman is relationship material or not?
Listen, men aren't any better at this than women are. I mean, that's what makes this all messed up, and that's why sort of the science of dating I find so interesting. I mean, I've said this in some of my materials, but I'd be pleased to share it with your readers. If you tell your readers to go to Wikipedia and tell them to look up the word love and scroll down to the biological basis for love, they can read that, essentially, the feelings of being in love chemical, right? Like being on cocaine. It's a feeling. It's a hormonal rush, right? You get
That's right.
epinephrine, and you get testosterone, and you get estrogen, and you get pheromones. These things coursing through your system. And the highs seem really high, and the lows seem really low, and you can't think straight, and you can't sleep, and you can't breathe, and it's obsession. It's completely unhealthy. And that's what most people associate with being in love, except it's not true. And that comes as a big shock. So everybody chases the chemical high, the feeling, except the feeling isn't what's going to sustain you for the next 40 years. Because what happens is, invariably, that feeling wears off. 18 months to 36 months. That feeling of, oh my God, I can't breathe without you, becomes, oh, it's you again. You annoy me. Right?
That's right.
While you're in that attraction phase, you can't even see things clearly, which is why you shouldn't be moving in with anybody or getting married for at least a couple of years, because you're still riding the feeling. You haven't figured out, do I like this person when the feeling's gone? Does this person make me feel safe, heard, and understood? Do we share values? Do we fight well? When we disagree, do we get over it fast? Or am I giving the silent treatment? Or am I always feeling like he's going to break up with me? Or do I think he's looking for bigger and better? You need to be in a relationship that is bigger than the both of you. And that takes a long time to develop. I didn't just know my wife was the one until after we were married.
Wow. Wow, that's yeah. Because my next question was going to be, how did you know that she was the one?
I took an educated guess. I took an educated guess because I'd gone out with a whole ton of women. My wife was different than everybody I ever dated before. Right? We didn't have that chemical rush, the oh my God, you just know, blah, 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 blah. I felt like I knew her forever. I felt like I could just be myself around her. It was easy. That was, when you say, how does a guy decide if a woman's relationship material or not? If he's smart, he chooses her because the relationship is easy. And it's like two puzzle pieces fitting together. If he's not smart, he thinks she's the one for the same reason that women think men are the one. He thinks she's hot and he thinks she's smart. So he's like, oh, she's the one. He doesn't pay attention to whether she treats him well or whether they want the same things out of life.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. So it's the same thing.
Men are equally intoxicated by the feeling, which is based on these external things. But they're not really based on the internal things. Right? The quality of someone's character and the ease with which you get along. Because if you're building a life for 40 years, you're going to have 100 decisions to make a week. Right? Tiny decisions that have nothing to do with what your life looks like when you're dating. I'm married for, 5 years. I got 2 kids under the age of 2. It's who fed this kid, who woke up at what time, or do we have enough money for their college educations? Are we going to be able to get a babysitter this week and get out of the house? It's like this very mundane thing that you're doing. So you better have someone that you like along for the ride.
Yes.
It's not just how funny he is and how great your lovemaking is, even though that stuff is great too. So how do you decide if someone is the one? You better have a great relationship 95% of the time. Because if you have a great relationship 75% of the time and 25% of the time it's shit, you're going to have a miserable life.
And then once children come along, it's only going to get more challenging, right?
Only more challenging.
So if you could give the one take-home message to single women, what would it be? Just the one.
Listen, it's sort of unfair. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I got to distill 10 years of work into one catchy phrase that's going to change someone's life. But I guess per what I just said, if it's not easy, it's not good. I would really judge a relationship based on how easy it is. If there's a lot of silences and fighting, and you may score high on the passion scale, but you're going to score very low on the long-term compatibility scale. Two people who are always at each other's throats, who can't compromise, who need to be right. It doesn't mean that he's wrong or you're wrong. It means you need to find someone who's a better fit for you, where there's not so much strife. Right? I dated a whole bunch of women who were quality women and just needed a different partner other than me, you see?
Yes, exactly. And I'm thinking, like, after hearing all this, which is all such great quality advice, would some women think like, oh my God, this is all so much hard work. Is it really worth it? And of course I know it is, but I can imagine some women, when they first hear that and their bubble is burst, do you ever get women saying that, like, oh my God, it's is this going to be so much hard work?
There's a neurological study that talks about how beliefs in the brain function the same as facts, which is to say that, well, just use an example we talked about before. I believe in Santa Claus, right? Would look the same in the brain under an fMRI as I believe I have two arms. Okay?
Yeah.
Facts and beliefs are the same, which is why it's very, very hard to argue with anybody about a belief, whether it's political or religious or whatever. It might as well be a fact, you see? So when I'm trying to get someone out of a belief that they've held for 40 years, of course they don't let go of that easily. Right? But the evidence that I have is the fact that they're my client. That's all the evidence that I need to prove that their way of looking at things isn't working.
Yes.
If it was working, you wouldn't be on the phone with me.
That's right.
Right? So, and I could always retreat to the fact that I'm sincerely just like my clients. I went on 300 dates with women chasing the smartest, hottest one on the planet because she would be the one who I would be the most attracted to. Right? Spent my entire life doing it. It didn't work. It wasn't a successful dating paradigm. I was ignoring the qualities that were most important to me, which was having a wife who appreciated who I was and didn't try to change me. That was my number one value. Find someone who appreciates me as I am, flaws and all, and doesn't spend her time trying to change me. And
nice.
That is what makes my wife better, in my book, for me, than all of the very smart, strong, successful women that I coach. Right? Who are constantly trying to change their men or micromanage them or dissect them or think they could do better.
Yes, absolutely.
X, I want him to make Y. He's this tall, I want him to be that tall. I wish he were a better dancer. I wish he were more charismatic. I wish he liked international travel more. And that's fine. But this is an example of women who essentially are narcissists and want to date themselves.
Yes, and it doesn't work.
Trying to find the value in a man who appreciates her. He's not her. He appreciates her. He doesn't try to change her. So that's why I talk about easy. In an easy relationship, both parties respect and trust and communicate, and there's not much to fight about.
Oh, it's a totally different dynamic. So, and thanks so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom on the call today. I know we only just scratched the surface, and there's so much more. So you have a few really great products online. And which one would you recommend for someone who hasn't purchased anything yet?
Listen, probably the best thing you can do is go to my website. It is evanmarckatz.com. That's katz.com. You can sign up for the free newsletter. You can go to my blog. I write on the blog on Mondays and Thursdays here in America. I send out a newsletter every Tuesday. And you can see a video once you sign up for my newsletter about the myth of chemistry and why it's dangerous to keep on chasing chemistry. I have an array of products and coaching services. Probably the most popular product is called Why He Disappeared. It's the single biggest question that women have when they're dating. I was dating this great guy for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and we broke up. What happened? What did I do wrong? How do I stop this from happening again?
Yes.
And in 133 short pages, I explain why men disappear from women, either on the first date, during the courtship phase of dating, or from relationships. And it's, I'm very lucky. It's the best-selling thing I've ever done. And if you're trying to introduce yourself to my thoughts and philosophies to help you make better decisions with guys, that's probably a pretty great place to start.
Perfect. And it's something that I would have needed about 6 or 7 years ago. So I wish I'd read it then, but it's all good now.
I'm glad you got it figured out for yourself.
I have, and thank you so much for your generous sharing your pearls of wisdom again. And it's been a real pleasure to interview you.
I appreciate it, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Evan. Bye.
Hey, don't hang up.
Hang on.